The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
So today, listeners, we're going to do a little free-forming, and we're going to talk about Trump and his tweet from either last night or this morning, being very disrespectful to South Korea, stating that the exercises between South Korea, the usual just war exercises, military exercises, between South Korea and the United States are going to be canceled, and how great Kim Jong-un is. You know, he's really a wonderful person, and how terrible the South Korean leader is, and she's just a terrible person. And apparently South Korea must not be doing what the United States wishes, which seems to be par for the course. So now we may be seeing another bromance, at least from Trump's side, between Trump and Kim Jong-un. So, Scott.
It does seem like it's all coming back again, because I don't think we've heard North Korea spoken about this thus far in the Trump administration until, well, I saw it this morning. And it's like a nightmare reoccurring again. First of all, in Trump 1, all he really managed to do with all first the fire and the fury, and then the little rocket man, and then this sort of like peace, talk and getting together. All he really accomplished was raising up Kim Jong-un's reputation in the world, and really nothing else. And he's revisiting that now again, and it just seems to me like one of the typically crazy developments that has gone on, with him siding with Russia over Ukraine, with him siding with China over Taiwan, with him siding even possibly with the Arabs or Hamas or Hezbollah versus Israel. There's been a little tease of that coming. And it seems to me that South Korea has been, I don't know, for what, 60 years, 70 years, a trusted, loyal American friend. And Trump is getting ready to throw that away.
Yeah, it sure does look that way, doesn't it? It looks like, there's so many ways that we could take out of this. All right. So first of all, we're talking about North Korea, and Kim Jong-un is a great guy. And oh gosh, again, the bromance that's going on. And we have to ask ourselves, why would we want to do this, especially in a region where our military presence has been so important? And we have to ask ourselves, is it because we don't have the capacity anymore? Is it because that the Iranian war has drained us to the point where basically his complaint is that it's expensive and that, we can't maintain something like that? So it, again, raises questions about our true military readiness and where we sit. And let's also look at, he's supporting Kim Jong-un, who is supplying troops to Russia, who is attacking the Ukraine, who supposedly we support. So, I mean, there's so many contradictions when you look at stupid stuff like this. And I'm sorry, people, but if you're a Trump supporter, then you must like Kim Jong-un, because that's who your boy likes. So you just don't even try to make an excuse around it. Just say, okay, I'll get you a Kim Jong-un T-shirt and say, hey, yeah, I support him because I'm an idiot. The fact is that we are seeing a total change in our global footprint. And we're seeing it at almost such a rapid rate that it's almost impossible to keep up with. These kind of things usually take years to develop. If we were going to back out of these war games that we always put, these exercises that we always put on with South Korea. You would have this is something traditionally that would have taken years. It would have been gradually brought down, little by little by little, until after like a decade or so, maybe it would go away, and we would have in place, as we were reducing our direct footprint, we would have in place something that would replace it. And we would support that because it is in our interests that Japan, that South Korea, that many of the nations in this region are protected and are, that just, I don't think anybody can deny that. So it would always have been a gradual thing. Now, would it have been a total withdrawal by us on such a fast scale, on such an untimely scale? No, because we have to understand there has to be a strategy, which, if we're looking at Iran, obviously the Department of War and Pete Hegseth have no strategy, cannot conceive of a strategy, and basically says just back out and let the chips fall where they may. This is going to be a problem for the United States. This is going to be a problem for the region, and this is a problem that I don't know if we can actually recover from as far as in the world.
Yeah. And there's another aspect to this I think is I don't know, unseemly. First of all, I didn't see it, but apparently Trump posted a picture of himself with Kim Jong-un over the weekend on Truth Social and wrote Kim Jong-un and I get along great in all capital letters. It's a little bizarre, coming out of really out of nowhere, it seems. But maybe it's not out of nowhere. Because it occurs to me, and I am not a conspiracy theorist, people, but it does occur to me, as you just pointed out, Mark, that North Korea has been sending troops to Russia and arms as well.
Yep.
And this could be, if I was a more conspiracy theory minded, a payback from Putin's guy in the White House giving Kim his reward for being such a good soldier in the, I don't know what you call it, autocrat, faction, the axis of autocrats, right? Because you have
Autocrat
Putin,
club.
Yeah, the autocrat club. I like it. I like the axis. Remember how W. Bush had
Axis
the axis
of evil.
Now we have the axis of autocrats, and we have Putin and Xi, and we have North Korea, right? Kim Jong Un, and we have
Turkey,
and Iran,
and United States,
right, would be. Yeah, and I guess that brings up yet another point, which is, you look at our allies, and of course he treats them horribly, as he is doing here to South Korea, which has been an ally for a long time and an important tech partner and an important counter to China's growing aggression in the Pacific, right? And Biden actually had gotten, for the first time since World War II, the leader of South Korea and the leader of Japan together at the White House to shake hands and say, yes, we're going to finally normalize our relations, but after 80 years. And that was a major foreign policy coup from Biden that very few people even remember, because, South Korea had legit fear and hatred of Japan for what they did to Korea in World War II. And yet here they were in the White House with Biden, all smiling together and shaking hands, a major breakthrough in what really could be the Allies working together, South Korea and Japan together, rather than South Korea and Japan, each with us, but not talking to one another. And Trump, I think my sense is that Trump is terrified of these autocrats. So he will never cross them, right? he'll just change sides. He'll just make the good guys the bad guys, and that solves the problem. And right, kicking America's allies is so much easier because they're not going to kick back. And so he's not afraid of the South Koreans. He's not afraid of the Japanese. He's not afraid of Australians or Canadians or NATO or other allies of ours. The way he is of these other autocratic countries, which he seems to have some kind of personal affinity for. But we know that Trump is also a coward, and he doesn't have to face them if he's friends with them. So that's I guess, something that passes for strategy in his mind. The problem is if I'm one of the parents of the 28,500 American troops that are currently stationed in South Korea, I'm worried about that.
Yep.
And they have nuclear weapons, and they have, some of these soldiers are right on the DMZ, the 30th parallel, and they're going to be the first people incinerated in a hot war in a peninsula that has fought hot wars before. And it just seems to me that now South Korea is going to be added to the list of countries that has got to go, you know what, we can't trust America anymore. We need to tool up.
Yep.
We need to have our own nuclear wars. And Japan will follow right away.
Oh, yeah.
And so more, proliferation is the name of the game nowadays, not non-proliferation, as it has been our entire lives. Right? We've had nuclear powers sort of saying we need to limit the number of nuclear. Trump is going to do the opposite of that. He's going to augur in more countries seeking nuclear arms. And of course, that just makes the world very, very much more dangerous than it was before.
I wanted to recommend a movie which is on Netflix that I just saw recently. It's directed by Catherine Bigelow from 2025, and it's called House of Dynamite. And the movie is ambiguous in the end, and it replays the same 18 minutes of footage from the different parties' perspectives. And it is about an incoming nuclear weapon that nobody can figure out who fired because of nuclear proliferation. And the end of the film, of course, is ambiguous. And it's quite interesting. So I do recommend that. And I wanted to add also the pressure that Trump is putting now on Canada with 50% tariffs that are going to start on August 19th. And there are many, many signatures from Canadians to eject the ambassador to the U.S. ambassador, Pete Hoekstra, who is extremely offensive. They would like to send him back. Yeah, I can barely listen to him. He is really offensive to Canadians. I mean, in what he says to Canadians and about Canadians. But yeah, the revisiting, as you said, of and Trump seems to do that constantly, revisiting. I think it's Lisa Cook revisiting the reflecting pool, revisiting Greenland. He's back on this and he's back on that, and now he brought something else back up again, pressuring the Supreme Court about birthright citizenship, for example. And they've already been over that, and he never seems to let any issue go. And global leaders are not going to treat him the way people inside the U.S. do, fawning and scraping and whatnot. But this I didn't know about the photo Is that a real photo or that's AI, correct?
I didn't. No, I thought that. I mean, if I haven't seen what photo it is, but I know that there was a picture that I've seen of the two of them at the DMZ together, sort of standing in that little middle part. You know, it almost looks like a bocce court or something like that. And they're standing in there, and you see the North Korean guys on the other side with these giant hats on. You know, so yeah, that was a real photograph that they took in his first term. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And look, here's the thing about tariffs. They've they've paid back the tariffs to the importers and the retailers that paid them, some of whom have said, oh, we'll have sales so we can pass it on to our customers, some of whom have not done that. And at this point, when Trump says, I'm going to levy tariffs on a country, how is everybody in the United States not saying all at once, stop making us pay more for goods that we get from these countries? How is this helping them, hurting them? It's hurting us. It's increasing inflation. And eventually, I think you're right, Brooke. I mean, I think that Canada will get tired of this and maybe finally say, you know what, we're the number one exporter of oil to the United States of America. Your gasoline in your cars comes from Canada and Mexico, and we are tired of it, and you're not. We're going to sell it to China instead. And
Yes.
yeah,
And
and
our
we're up Schitt's
electricity
Creek. And the electricity, right?
In many of our states, including where I am. Oh yeah. And Trump keeps saying, well, we don't need anything from Canada. Wait until, and we also, by the way, get our oil and, as far as I know, our electricity at a discount from Canada. All they have to do is decide they're not going to sell any of it to us. And I don't know what we do.
I guess we go to Venezuela, but my understanding is that Venezuelan oil is not good for gasoline, that it's for other things. I may be wrong about that, but boy, I tell you, he really is playing with fire. I mean, again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you were going to have like a poison pill, like a worm getting into the system here to destroy it from within, could you expect better stuff from it than you're getting from Trump?
Yeah. And, there's a couple other things to consider into this. And, it brings up, when we talk about allies, and yeah, for right now, he can push them around and they seem to kind of bend a little bit, but eventually that's going to change. And, when we look at South Korea, and Scott's very true, the history of South Korea and Japan is not a very good one, as the history of China and Japan is not a very good one. They were both treated basically the same during World War II and previous, when it was Imperial Japan. This is one of those kind of moves that could very easily move South Korea into the arms of the Chinese.
Right.
Move it right into the arms of the Chinese, because they have a kind of mutual history in the region, and they might say, oh yeah, okay, fine, we'll just go with our best defense and our best security comes from, let's get involved with the Chinese, because the Chinese control the North Koreans. Therefore, if we get involved with them, they're going to be the buffer between us and Kim Jong-un. And once again, we're seeing, North Korea, yes, they have nuclear weapons, although whether they work or not, we're really not overly sure. Can they deliver them or not? We're really not very sure. But the fact is that all this attention that Donald Trump is giving to North Korea has taken them from, I would say, a controlled regional power, because let's face it, China controlled them up and down the line. They knew that they relied on China, so they did with China. They were basically a vassal state, still are, and made them bring them to world prominence. And when I say that, because we're looking at what could possibly happen with South Korea. Just as he's taken Iran, who was a minor regional power, and created them, and now they're a world power. They're a world economic power. So, there is no logic to anything that's being done. I mean, if there's a plan, please somebody tell me what it is. What is the what would be the motivation to make Iran a regional economic power? What would be the rationale to take North Korea and elevate them in any way, shape, or form? What would be the rationale to treat South Korea in such a way that could put them into the arms of the Chinese? And same thing with Taiwan. Taiwan would be another one. Taiwan might be saying to themselves, "Hey, we can't trust those damn Americans. Maybe if we play nice with the Chinese, maybe we offer them something that is very important to them, and that's economics. Economics is more important to the Chinese than military, and we offer quite a bit in that. And maybe we can partner with." I've always said, United States, and Scott and I have had this discussion before. We treat Chinese as an enemy. I say we should treat the Chinese as a potential partner. They have quite a bit of what we don't. They have that economic wherewithal without having to be over ridiculous with the military aspect of it. We have things that they don't. In other words, we have resources that they don't. So this is one of those cases where we've always treated them post World War II as an adversary, as basically an enemy. And maybe if we changed our attitude and started working with the Chinese a little bit, maybe that entire region would become a lot more stable, a lot safer for our allies. And then maybe we could actually get the Chinese and the Asian countries to basically assist us. Because let's remember, one of the reasons that Trump's taken away the war maneuvers or the exercises is because South Korea would not help in Iran.
Yeah.
I have a point and a question. Now, unless I am incorrect, China was saying that they were no longer going to send the United States any rare earth minerals and whatnot, and any of the lithium or whatever that's required for batteries and electronics and things of that nature. I don't know if that's correct or not. And also, Taiwan is where the United States gets all the chips and that type of stuff that we need. We don't have any of that here because Trump stopped the CHIPS Act. Now, if we continue to have a trade war and make an enemy of China, the only other place that I'm aware of that's close that does have rare earth minerals is Canada, where we don't need anything that they have, which obviously is not true. Now, and there may be some in Australia, I really don't know. If China refuses to sell any of that to us, I mean, have they refused? First of all,
They've threatened. They got serious tariffs, right? Relieved after they threatened to limit our access to their rare earth minerals. Yeah.
Okay. So we're still getting that. Is that correct? And we're still getting chips from Taiwan.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
But there's no guarantee that won't be revisited in the future unless we can get through the next, God help us, 2.5 years, and get someone who's reasonable and who understands economics and business and trade and so forth. Correct? I mean, so the Chinese have a very, very large amount of leverage that they can wield. Okay.
Absolutely. And they have that leverage simply because we basically surrendered
permitted it.
We
Yeah.
could have been the ones processing rare earth minerals, and we basically said no, we don't want to do that. Let the Chinese do it. So
So
now,
where do we
they
have
I think they
processing?
process. I think the last time I last statistic I read, they process 96% of rare earth minerals.
So how could we have been the ones processing it?
All we had to do is develop technology.
So do we have rare earth minerals on this continent? I mean, on our part of this continent?
Oh, I mean, there's rare earth minerals all over the place. The Chinese, it's not like they're sitting on a hoard of rare earth minerals. I mean,
Right.
they have
It's
the capacity to work with it, to refine them. So let's not make
Okay.
the mistake that, thinking, well, China's sitting all on all these rare earth minerals. They're not.
Okay.
and
So
and
because I
part of
don't
that,
know anything about geology. Hmm?
but part of it was that it's very pollution intensive.
Correct.
And there were parts of China that are heavily polluted, but it's part of their greater good sort of, collectivism, whereas here in the United States we wouldn't do that even if we had the ability to do it. We don't, we didn't have the, well, you see people reacting against data centers and NIMBY and all that. We wouldn't want to go down that road. So, and the other part of it was, of course, also that these rare earth minerals are mainly being used to create batteries and things like that that are green, And this is part of the Chinese hoax idea that Trump has, is like, we like gas, we like oil, we like coal, we like that kind of stuff. We don't like rare earth minerals. We don't want batteries. We're not interested in solar power. We're not interested in alternative energy sources. We like the old fashioned ones that we've had since the, 1800s. And, make of that whatever you will, but that we've definitely ceded that, that foremost, place to the Chinese. Go on.
You just reminded me, I don't know what type of technology we have now on aircraft carriers. Trump apparently wants to go back to the catapult
Right, the steam
to
catapults,
launch
yeah.
aircraft.
Whatever.
What do we
That's
have
because the
now?
moron believes that if you take a magnet and make it wet, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
That's the
So what do
stupidest
we
thing I've ever
have
heard in my
now?
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
but
heard people
you know
talking
how
about that, and the idea there is that somebody got to Trump and put this bug in his head and he can't get it out. That we
so what
need
do
to
we
go back to
have now?
steam.
Yeah, and I don't know what it would cost to retrofit everything with something that's already been replaced with something much better. But I mean, I don't know anything about military technology. So what do we have
You
now?
don't have to know anything about. Oh, but right now the majority of them are run by electromagnetic catapults. Okay, fine. But this shows you, this is the one part of the system that actually makes me chuckle a lot. There was an article that says the Navy is considering changing the aesthetics of aircraft carriers to match what Trump thinks it should look like. Here's a guy that has this like fetish with gold. I mean, what are we going to make them all gold? He wants to create a a battleship, which would be basically, I don't know, pre-World War II effective, especially when you've got aircraft carriers and things like that. Heck, drones. I say we don't even make aircraft carriers that carry aircraft. Let's just make aircraft carriers that carry drones and send them. Oh my goodness, what a novel idea! And that'll bring down any. You send 1,000 drones with bombs onto it and put it up against a Trump battleship. Guess what? That battleship's done. Plain and simple. It's finished. And so it's this kind of thinking. And the fact that the system doesn't look at Trump and say, "You're such an idiot." First of all, you don't know how a magnet works. You don't. How can you? But hey, he's orange Jesus to so many people, and there's where we sit. But yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot
true.
to be
Yeah.
considered when we're
There's a
talking
lot.
about
Dunning-Kruger, right? And it's
Dunning
just like
Kruger.
he is like the personification of
He is.
Dunning-Kruger.
He absolutely
He
is.
is a moron who doesn't know he's a moron.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, yeah, that I had interrupted. So for now, then we, the United States, we're still going to get our chips and whatnot, and we will not be investing in the technologies here for
No.
rare
You,
earth.
No.
And as long as
I think there is.
we
I vaguely remember a rare earth mineral refining place in like Utah, maybe, or New Mexico. I need to look that up. And well, I don't feel like it at the moment, but wherever it was, that there was a place that in the United States that had that capability, but it's developing and it's small and it's not widespread. I mean, China's larger than the United States and has a different mentality than we do, a cultural mentality. So we're not going to be competing with them anytime soon. I mean, we're not even up to speed on aluminum yet, right? We have
no,
we have
no, we're
tariffs
way
on
behind.
aluminum, and yet we don't have an aluminum industry here because all the factories that were just beginning to like choose the sites. We talked about this probably a year ago, maybe two, choosing the sites to build these new aluminum processing plants. They're not even online yet. They're still building the plants and they're finding it difficult to do because steel is so much money because of tariffs and lumber is so much money because of tariffs, and warehouses aren't being built. Data centers are being built because they're pouring so many, like $1 trillion into data centers, but they're not doing the same thing with these other factories. I don't know. I mean, I will say this. I guess the easiest thing to do in the world is just to surrender. To just say, you know what? We're like we did it with he did it with the Taliban. He said, I am tired of fighting this 20-year war. We surrender. Taliban take over Afghanistan, and he walks away from it. He frees their terrorists from the jails. He betrays the government over there that we've been propping up for 20 years. He sticks Biden with very few troops. In an the effort to get out. Now he's telling all the Afghanis who were fighting with us in that war, he's telling them that they have to go back to Afghanistan, and they're like, that's a death sentence. Like we were fighting against the Taliban, they now control the place, and you're telling us we need to go back. But that is literally happening because he's revoking their civ status, which is the program that they created in I want to say the 1990s. Is that possible? Or maybe early 2000s, to help Afghanis come to America and start a new life here. Couldn't have been 1990s, had to be in the 2000s. But that program, what it is, it was 2009. Okay. And he's revoking that program so that they're going to end up losing their green cards, losing their citizenship if they have them, and shipping them back to the Taliban for the whatever fate awaits them. It just seems to me like the easy way out is to say to the North Koreans, you know what, we're on your side now. To say to Taiwan, I'm sorry, but we're on the other side. You're gonna have to go be part of China again. And to say to the the Baltic countries and Poland, yeah, we're supporting Russia in that war because you didn't pay your dues for NATO, that kind of thing. And rather than like embark on some kind of diplomacy just to say, no, we want to be your friends, right? He's even floated the idea of sharing the Strait of Hormuz with Iran, which Iran has rejected, but that was like he had that idea. He was like, why are we fighting each other? We could share it and make mint, because everything is so transactional and there's never any strategy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it was last winter. I lose track of time. I had at the other university where I teach, I had a woman student from Afghanistan tell me that she was being deported or had been deported back to Afghanistan.
Wow.
And she couldn't finish the course. And I have not heard from her since, or that she had to drop out of university or something. Yeah. I was absolutely horrified, and I don't know what happened to her. Yeah, well, the American public, cannot just walk away from our duty to the Constitution and to our country.
Or values. Like values used to actually mean
Yes.
something, but now values don't mean anything. It's just everything is transactional.
Well,
I was like, I guess it goes back to, what was it, Lord Palmerston? Right? There are no
Okay.
enduring policies, there are only enduring interests. And our enduring
Yeah.
interests, at least under Trump, has been to make as much money as we possibly can, or to, take the easy road out. When confronted with two paths, take the easy one.
Well, I mean, we have to decide for each of ourselves as an American citizen what being an American and what our future is going to look like. And is that what we want in leadership, and what our own principles are, who each of us is as an individual. And if that's it, and just whatever is easy and quick and whatever, and don't even think about the future and consequences, because there will be consequences, and they may or may not happen in our lifetimes, but they will be happening for children, grandchildren. Or are we going to make a stand the way earlier Americans did? And that's going to be the tough road.
Right.
Okay.
We have to decide.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Sciences, the JICS. This open access journal, double peer-reviewed, provides a platform for emerging scholars to publish their work and engage in meaningful dialogue across disciplines. The JICS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis and is published through the NovaWorks Scholarly Repository at Nova Southeastern University. You'll find a link to the journal in our episode description.